susceptible,
susceptible, susceptible,
susceptible,
susceptible.
He gave me something that made me susceptible to suggestion, and yeah.
We know this is not unusual after first successful intercourse, but I think he's particularly susceptible.
Fortunately for us, she remained susceptible to your father's particular charm.
The message he painted opened a door for the demonic. Those who are susceptible can become possessed when they see this.
Steal the car.
Actually, electronic devices are more susceptible to an EMP if they're turned on.
Only a very small population of Indo-Gentili of Greek heritage are even susceptible.
There's a design flaw. The beacon is still susceptible to a subform wave, even if it's been deactivated.
In South America. In fact, it thrives in Corte Maltese, making the subject extremely susceptible to suggestion.
Tara, I've heard it makes people extremely susceptible to suggestion.
It's not done often, but it's done. It's a lot of work, and some people aren't susceptible. It's mostly used on high-value targets.
Like you?
circle,
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 Circle.
See this circle? See this circle? See this circle?
That is the circle of virgins.
Uh-huh.
Could you not make those little circles, circles, circles?
Okay, let's see. Circles where the girls were abducted, arrows where their bodies were found.
Where would you have seen us before? Yeah, we travel in different social circles.
I don't know, they're awful short.
Humor.
What else am I supposed to do? Eventually things get tragic enough, and they circle back to comedy.
No, I don't know him enough to trust him, and his daughter is in Lucy's circle of friends, for God's sake.
Mr. Caffrey, I mean, you're known in some circles as a con man and a liar.
Now, the ends would kind of close in to form a shrinking circle. And everything within that circle panicked to get out.
Now, I know how good you are. I've seen you out there. You serve circles around those other kids.
prime,
prime, prime, prime,
Prime.
Be the prime suspect, prime suspect, prime suspect. You hatched another devious plan.
This wasn't about our missing woman. If there was some other prime motive, killing the paramedics, stealing an ambulance, any way you add it up.
And this one, Karina, she is in her prime. Well, almost.
It is always a prime investment. Prime investment. Prime investment. You never go out of business.
Do this, see where it leads. But Andrew Haynes is still a prime suspect. At least until you can...
As the enforcer for the O'Reilly family, he's the prime suspect in dozens of hits.
Why does the Prime Minister resist the inevitable?
I got no shot. Only so long Meatloaf can hold on to prime rib, right?
No, man. Just saying any girl that makes you feel like Meatloaf isn't prime rib. At least not your prime rib.
For me to be here, I left the governor's mansion right in my prime. To be what, vice president?
Do I need to call the prime minister?
Oh, I think it's going to take more than a phone call.
ahead,
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 Ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's your copy.
I gotta go.
Fine. Choose your kid over me.
Every time, but you're ahead of my brother-in-law. You're ahead of my brother-in-law. You're ahead of my brother-in-law.
So why'd she give it back? Couldn't solve it herself?
Or she took something out of it, or she knows something we don't. She could be a step ahead of us, ahead of us, ahead of us, you know?
Oh, you want a contest?
Yeah, actually, I'm done.
Me too.
Wait, what?
You're quitting?
While I'm ahead.
But you're not ahead. It's a tie.
So how are you ahead of the police on this?
They're not looking.
Hey, Kalinda, what's up?
It's not a leak.
What do you mean? What is it?
Why Panning is ahead of us. He put Spectre Pro on Alicia's laptop.
Go ahead, Detective, take him in. This is illegal. Now, who is your boss? The people of Illinois.
How about Mr. Gold?
Yes. Part of our firm is Mr. Gold's crisis management. Can she ask me a question as to that? Sure. Go ahead. Take your time. Here it is.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mom.
Mrs. Florick, how are you?
I'm good. How are we doing in here?
We were just watching the results. Dad hasn't won yet. They say they won't have the results until tomorrow.
Yeah, but he's ahead. Maddie's down by 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Access.
Access. Access.
Access.
Access.
Open! My purpose is to heal the sick and injured.
Baymax, open your access port. Access port. Access port.
I need access to my account, please. I need access to my account, please. I need access to my account, please. Yeah.
If you're hired, you'll have access to this whole wing, access to this whole wing, access to this whole wing.
When you have access to the vastness of space, you realize there's only one resource worth fighting over.
Guys, yet that newspaper you're holding hasn't been opened yet, and the red stamp on your hand gives you access to the box seat section.
What are you doing?
39,000 matches.
That's crazy.
That's a start.
You must be 18 years or older to access suite.
I need some access.
Really? You've been wanting a lot of access these days.
Any chance I could borrow $10,000?
I know an accountant/councilman with access to a certain civic investment portfolio.
Make it 50.
And I need $100,000. Majestic is checking their books tomorrow.
I might have access to some money.
I think the second book has a list of the straw donors and the source of the illegal money.
Well, who has access?
And the virus that can point us to the programmer. Diana, call up Zurich. We need access to the DuPont account.
That it would be irresponsible for just one of us to have access to this room, rather than this being an issue of trust.
Modest.
Modest. Modest.
Modest.
Modest.
Nobody who takes on anything big and tough can afford to be modest. Be modest. Be modest.
Say it. It was just one of those yo mama tape jokes.
You're far too modest. Too modest. Too modest.
Take it off and we'll burn it together and pray for forgiveness.
Mama, it's modest.
Call it up.
It's modest.
Call it up.
It's modest.
Call that boy and tell him you're not going.
I was born and raised in a blue-collar chunk of Trenton called the Burg. Here, houses are modest, yards are small.
I will give you a modest stipend.
Thank you most humbly for the hospitality you have extended to our modest delegation.
Did you say anything?
Because he's a humble, modest jerk. I hate him.
I've learned since we spoke that you come from modest origins. Father a contractor, mother a homemaker.
Melanie Vilkas was a modest beauty. So why then did she suddenly decide to turn her much-used camera on herself? Love. Now he's back permanently, seeking a modest escalation of the relationship.
All right. It's a modest layer built on a budget.
Regular culture, let alone subculture.
Well, Tom, you're too modest. A number of zombies sang your praises.
Vendors selling their wares, bringing home a modest income.
Avoid. Avoid. Avoid.
Avoid.
Avoid.
We need you to avoid confrontation.
We need you to appeal to her as a mother.
Professor Nash, let's avoid a scene, shall we?
Everything else at 80 to 100% of the cuts you propose. You get your win, Curtis. We just avoid disaster.
You asking me to negotiate a surrender?
No. I offer you a chance to avoid such misery and join me.
Most people, normal people, do just about anything to avoid a fight.
Excuse me.
Just a 6x8 cell with no window and only a bucket to shit in. But you can avoid all that by doing me this small favor.
High tide in exactly 2 hours and 48 minutes. We're going to take this ship through the eye of the needle to avoid Russian radar.
You ever been shot before, Miller?
Can't say I have.
All right, my advice, avoid it.
This is an excellent find, Mr. Vazidi.
Wow, focusing on your work to avoid personal issues has its rewards.
Yes, I often use work to avoid my personal life.
And the keypad is for texting, which is what you do when you want to avoid talking to someone.
Section. Section.
Section. Section.
Section.
I don't care if it's a smoking section. The smoking section. The smoking section. All right? She directed it right in my face, man.
Please get the diapers and get out of here.
Fine, but I want to stop by the wine section first.
Wait. There's a wine section? The wine section? The wine section?
Why in the masonry section?
I've never been tested.
Okay, you just need to finish filling out this section here.
Sure.
Started last night, around midnight. The first explosion has tore open the entire medical section.
Because of its location in the midsection of the brainstem, it makes it very difficult. I work, I babysit, I work, I babysit.
Hold on a second, I just have to tune up the string section.
So get you started. And over here we've got the food section. Hey, Mrs. Rappaport, nice to see you.
Aim right, but I'm not agency. I'm an FSO in the political section.
Bullshit.
These are the last sections, ma'am.
As well. Closing off this section of the floor for very sensitive surgery.
Inventory. Inventory.
Inventory.
Inventory.
Inventory.
I call them. My record look like the inventory down at the motor pool. Inventory down at the motor pool. Inventory down at the motor pool.
Is he in some kind of trouble?
We'd like to talk to him.
I think he's doing inventory in the back. Inventory in the back. Inventory in the back. Follow me.
Something with a little glitz.
I'll check the inventory. I'll check the inventory. I'll check the inventory.
Employees here. One of them was probably just shuffling some inventory toward the loading dock.
Hey, guys. What gives? I was just returning some unsold inventory to my distributors. Oh, yeah?
I have to find out myself. What is all this?
Inventory forms, personnel records, and security reports from Stuyvesant Memorial.
About tri-tip will result in me shoving this inventory file so far up your ass, he'll part your hair.
That's for ones that were stolen.
Actually, they can't do that. Inventory logs for the asset forfeiture locker went missing years ago.
I've sent all the German files over to the office.
Safe, and he doesn't think anything was taken from the floor.
Can he get us an inventory?
He's not worried about the floor items.
That makes him the first store owner in history not to care about tens of thousands in inventory.
Partner Gabby. Devin.
We got a lot of inventory here, so...
When can you get out of here? Hey, you wanna go do inventory? I bet you missed that.
Oh, how I missed it.
Food?
Huh. What else did you bring? Maybe we can make an inventory. Okay.
Delicate. Delicate.
Delicate.
Delicate.
Delicate.
Delicate equipment. Delicate equipment. When you called, you said you had some questions?
But they're delicate. 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 That's why I wanted to come in person.
Delicate how?
Oh, be careful. It's delicate. Delicate. Delicate.
It's delicate. I think you should get it remixed.
I know it's a delicate subject.
Lie to me again. I want to feel your body sliding through my delicate hands.
Well, you can't. It's very delicate equipment. So just stay away.
These are delicate times. Decisions are being made.
That would be an incredibly delicate shot. But this is a very delicate moment in the campaign.
It's a delicate matter, but we are in communication with the Chinese government as to how to move forward.
Modesty.
Modesty. Modesty.
Modesty.
Modesty.
Never met either.
Again with the false modesty. 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 You're resourceful. Bet you know a guy who knows a guy.
You're modest, you're modest, you're modesty. It's so refreshing.
You know, you're really cute when you're sarcastic.
No, it was Ariel. She never stopped believing.
Modesty. 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 Here's full of surprises today.
Your false modesty is apparent. You enjoy your work.
He is a hero of mine. He is the 57 Chevy of gambling. But, all modesty aside, I am the Ferrari.
No, don't vote for us.
To the devil with false modesty.
Yeah, I have to come. I need to use the lavatory, but I shall respect your modesty.
Carved this from the tree?
Your mother's idea.
No, actually, it wasn't my idea, but I'm speechless at the modesty.
Claude Lorraine was a genius.
Quite so. I sense an excess of modesty in Mr. Turner, and there is no need for such humility.
Well, until I buy my shadle.
Shadle. What's that again?
It's a modesty wig. I learned that virtue and modesty would be my path to bliss.
Enforce.
Enforce. Enforce.
Enforce.
Enforce.
Constitution. Enforce the Constitution. Enforce the Constitution.
Give Faubus more time.
It's true.
And because of the attacks, they're sending mostly soldiers. The people that enforce our laws. Enforce our laws. Enforce our laws.
Sir?
Your job is to enforce the law. To enforce the law. To enforce the law. Yet you have repeatedly ignored it.
I did not write the law. I may even disagree with the law, but I will enforce it.
There is nothing I can do about it.
Well, unfortunately, it is still unacceptable by the legal standards enforced by the state.
He has to give fair warning before he can enforce an eviction.
Would you sign an affidavit to that effect?
I will.
Now, the chief sets the rules, but he doesn't enforce them. That's somebody else's job.
Even if you're not there,
You have my word. I've given orders.
don't think you're going to be there to enforce those orders. Sheldon, do you really expect to enforce this?
Bro, I don't know you. I'm speaking to Naheli. You okay? Or do I need to enforce my right to refuse service?
And most important, how can he enforce the law when he's breaking it?
If they pass the bill, I'll veto it. If they override, I'll refuse to enforce.
Stability.
Stability. Stability. Stability. Stability.
Pyramid of Fortitude is a traditional pose representing stability, and unity. It does not spin.
As the only king on the Italian peninsula, you understand our need for stability, for stability, for stability.
We command the largest standing army in Italy. It is we who assure stability, stability, stability.
They are orders that must be executed, entrusted to us so that we might forge stability out of chaos.
Muffled with decibel killers. It's slower than the Black Hawk, lacks the offense and the stability, but it can hide.
Many lives have been lost. The very stability of our country is under threat. That means the stability of Europe is under threat.
Assuming market stability, if we harvest later this century, profit margin should eclipse your nearest competitor.
It's a joke, right?
Well, she made a decision, man. She decided she needed stability.
Is she gonna get that from you?
Hey, what? You show me some more stability,
and we'll talk about the extra grain. Thank you.
Turns out our sniper used the wrong ammo. The 168 grain loses stability when it goes through glass.
All like setting?
No, I need to be home with you. You give me strength and stability.
When I tell her I want to provide support, stability for the child under the law, I know you could have taken your firefighter assignment and started at 105, but this house needed stability in you.
This is about stability in the region. You're trying to consolidate your foothold in the region.
Output.
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 A radio frequency converter to display the images from your microprocessor to your said output device. Output device. Output device.
It looks like the tech inside Gideon. I measured the output, I measured the output, I measured the output, and this thing is kicking off serious juice.
You can't deny his offensive output. He can play. And we need people that can play.
This substance, it causes the adrenaline to run unchecked throughout your entire body. There's no way you can maintain that level of output.
Look, how do we make him right?
How you know how high to hang those lights?
30 inches above the plant makes for optimum lumen output in a space this size.
Do we rule out magical gum? Low cardiac output can cause both.
What's wrong?
Hypotension, low cardiac output. Float the swan.
Still needs oxygen.
Echo shows normal heart function. Could be high output failure from anemia.
Hematocrit was rock normal.
The radiograph technology is infallible. These are screenshots of the output with timestamps.
Phil, Dr. Wells will be monitoring your energy output and Caitlin, your vitals. Heat wave.
Stop doing that.
Okay, I measured the temperature output of both the cold and heat cones, right?
Warning, tachyon output has passed acceptable tolerance range. Continued exposure is not recommended.
Host.
Host. Host. Host. Host.
The dangers not only to the host, but to you are indescribable.
Well, Adam, I am the host. I am the host. I am the host. And I do pick the book. And this is my favorite book.
For your information, I'll be playing host to Dr. Elizabeth Plimpton.
Hey, sis. Just checking in to make sure you're still up for tomorrow. We'd be willing to host.
We have a special treat coming up for you at the end of the hour. A local radio host claims to have evidence of the supernatural.
If it's all right with my host, Dr. Wexler?
Well, I should think that all but the most joyless wonks, and yes, I do refer to you, Cyril Bibby.
I don't have much of a choice here. I mean, the host made it part of the show to bring it here.
I had a hard time getting him to leave.
The larva forms a tumor in the subcutaneous zone of the host using my flesh to convert itself into a buffalo.
Here comes our host now.
Tom, this is Mr. Park.
Hello, old friend. Captain, please see our host to a seat.
Consistent. Consistent.
Consistent. Consistent.
Consistent.
Crime scene, it's consistent with a drone-fired missile. Let me guess, she suggested that they all work together.
Well, at least she's consistent.
And nostalgic. Looks like she's back to her old tricks again.
These badges.
We know that we get people calling us and telling us what they think they're hearing or seeing or whatever, and it sounds strangely consistent.
You have a very consistent, albeit very cute, Sophie shoulder shrug that looks a little bit like this.
And on the radishes here, I use the tops, okay? Any consistent tops. Is that what's happening? 6 of these. Let's see what we got. What do you want, Percy? What do you want?
Made lots of calls to an untraceable burner phone in the past 6 months. Behavior consistent with a criminal dirtbag.
The hood guy.
That's what I thought at first. But these black arrows aren't consistent with his MO, and neither is the fact that the hood took Hunt for $40 million a few months ago.
My partner
Go!
I've isolated a frequency spike consistent with an incendiary device.
The cells in their bodies weren't able to utilize oxygen. It's consistent with exposure to poison gas. The gravel you pulled from Tony's ride contains 76.8% hematite, consistent with the mines at Keystone Ironworks.
Tone gas at the scene. We think he was sedated.
Yes, that would be consistent with the tox panel. The residues on both wrists are consistent with duct tape.
He was bound?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hypovolemic shock, it's consistent with the symptoms. I'm gonna get a line going.
Response.
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 Planet G.
You were saying that we sent out a signal and we got back an alien response. Response. Response.
I'm not leaving anything to anyone. We need a response team. A response team. A response team.
I have no response to that.
Not the response I anticipated.
That is a worthy response.
Can I change my answer?
You're very upset, which I'm going to factor into my response here. These are my guys. What did I do in response?
You started a war.
Asked her to commit her house to my cause. That's her response. Bear Island knows no king but the king in the north. Deploy the rapid response team, Sergeant. Bring me Firestorm.
So to divert attention, you order a massive response.
Right? I'm not freaking out, if that's what you mean, okay? This is a completely legitimate response to some very upsetting news.
The unit was dispatched, but there's been no response.
Okay, we're at the hospital now.
Keep your responses short and to the point.
All right, cool. So you're saying you got this, right, Match?
Prosperous. Prosperous.
Prosperous. Prosperous.
Prosperous.
To me, Mrs. Lonigan lived a long and prosperous life. Prosperous life. Prosperous life.
From the township above, a small but prosperous community. Prosperous community. Prosperous community.
A stable and prosperous Nassau.
It was a privilege to work for someone as accomplished and prosperous as Mr. Nas.
Up top, had grown rich and prosperous.
He had a long and prosperous relationship until one day he decided it wasn't quite prosperous enough.
His belief that the only thing that stands between us and a prosperous Nassau is an ocean, 100 years of history, and human nature.
Not to mention prosperous, this is prime Manhattan real estate.
If the goal is a safer, more prosperous America, I don't need to run for us to achieve that.
Status.
Status.
Status. Status.
Status.
Status report. Status report.
Everything's good to go.
Hired gun.
Ready and waiting.
Taylor.
Rock and roll.
Vulture team, Nathan James, I need a status update. Status update. Status update. TAO status. Oh, status. Oh, status. Did we hit that sub or not?
We cannot confirm, sir.
George, what's your status? Guys up.
The Senate is stuck on the status quo. You and William, you'd be new blood.
Just collapse. What is your status? What is your status? Red 1, what is your status?
You guys not breathing. Come on, breathe.
I'm not getting a status light on this thing.
Over. Sniper 3, talk, say pause, over.
Status, General.
They're throwing everything they can think of at us, but we're holding our own.
Well, she's got a new status update. She is now Clarice Schwartz, married to a dude, and 7 months pregnant.
Oh! Silverite, status now.
Roll okay, got the victim out.
Go. Status.
I'm okay, Chief. Building's a little wobbly. Still coming apart.
Tube.
Tube. Tube. Tube. Tube.
tube, something rigid, the size of my finger.
Down your pipes.
Socks? What kind of socks?
Tube socks. Tube socks. Tube socks. Ones with the stripes.
Damn, this is some good pie.
You enjoy now. Because if anything happened to my nephew, you're going to be eaten through a tube.
3 targets are chosen to maximize the effect of the attack: a school, a tube station, and a water treatment plant.
Stiletto heel.
Yes, that's right. 6-inch platform, molded plastic, but with metal tube reinforcement. Not great quality.
If the chemicals can't eat through the iron pipes, how come they can't eat through the toothpaste tube?
Yes, but this can also indicate the presence of a knob and tube wiring burn-off.
2, 3. Lois, get ready for intubation. Doug, we're gonna need a chest tube. She had a hemothorax. Her lung collapsed from the impact, but we put a chest tube in and she's breathing fine.
You're basically on your own. Just check the monitors, keep an eye on her feeding tube, and check her diaper for deposits.
Remember the old bank drive-through? Put your check in the canister, get sucked in the tube over to the bank.
The copper in the tube is arranged to form cavities, and we can use those cavities as containment cells.
Figure out what he's really after?
He didn't say much. He just kept working on some tube.
A tube? What did it look like?
Camp.
Camp. Camp.
Camp.
Camp.
Camp U is that way. Camp U is that way. Camp U is that way.
We're arrested at the dropship for a while.
Wow, I've actually heard of this place. I think it's like a coming-of-age camp for boys.
Like a Boy Scout camp, Boy Scout camp, Boy Scout camp.
Sort of, yeah. It's word of mouth. It's kind of an underground thing.
Would not have.
I saw it for myself, Castle.
I would never camp in this spot. Not after the research I did on Tropical Storm.
Silent gives the people a true David versus Goliath spectacle. Now, Tim, help me out on this. Has the Zeus camp lost their mind?
I'm keeping you here. You're best with the horses, and we need to move the camp quickly if the enemy continue to push through from the west.
You don't have to do this. You haven't left camp since we brought you back.
Clark, I need to do this.
I'm your guy.
Jake's just scored 1,000 armor-piercing bullets. You tell Bell that you got a guy at Camp Pendleton with bullets. A Marine.
That'd be you.
Got the look, right?
I thought about it. Anything on those stolen army weapons?
A crate of 12 M4A1s went missing from Camp Kirby 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think I know where they went.
Bended knee was your favorite.
Camp Waimea, that's where I know you from.
Information conflicts with what David told us. Now, camp operations was under the jurisdiction of the Army Provost Marshal General, but the official camp history is in the National Archives. I was able to access it, and I found only one reference to a James Toriyama.
Too important to leave now.
I purchased you a commission. You will join the Mobile 34th as their camp physician. It's an honor.
No, she didn't. It's the camp. Pan's moving it. He's playing tricks on us.
If Pan's camp keeps moving, how are we gonna find Henry?
All it takes is needing a fix one night, not having the money, and you're a dealer. And that shite caravan camp your family calls home, it's a perfect place to do it from, too.
Devote.
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 Devote. Devote.
I devote my life to you. I devote my life to you. Whatever you wish, whatever you want, it is my sworn duty to deliver for you until the end of my days.
I can't devote my life to a system capable of that.
I will devote all the resources and manpower of S.H.I.E.L.D. to crushing your agency.
But for the people who devote their lives to studying the Arctic, taking risks is part of the job.
I have decided to devote the entirety of my energies to family.
I have to decide which cases we're going to devote our very limited resources to.
So after that, she devoted her life to their study.
I've noticed you've devoted resources to running a background check on Philip Bartlett.
I know you know how it feels to devote your life to something, to an institution.
As long as I can devote myself wholly to the campaign, I agree.
Francis and I wanted to devote our lives to public service.
And resign so you can, quote, devote yourself to the campaign.
Unlike.
Unlike.
Unlike. Unlike.
Unlike.
unlike my face, unlike my face, unlike my face.
I don't need a sick word. I'm fine.
For you.
Well, unlike you, Mrs. Scott. Well, unlike you, Mrs. Scott. Well, unlike you, Mrs. Scott. The district attorney's office is constrained by laws.
Now it's my turn to disappear. But unlike you, I know how to hide.
Unlike butchering a herd of cattle.
Unlike you, my friend, I don't need a guidebook. Can we go, please?
That's what we're trying to tell you, okay? It was unlike anything you've ever seen before, and the leader...
Seriously, that's the best you could do?
Yes, unlike you, I have real work to do.
This wouldn't have happened if you'd come to rehearsal.
Dude, there's an army of grounders, unlike anything we've ever seen, coming for us right now. We need to pack what we can and run.
Here's my view, and unlike yours, mine is based on fact.
My stuff. I had absolutely no idea what was in the storage unit.
Yet, unlike anyone else there, you bid us through the roof.
And he ever was.
Except now it's Nascenti's daughter who's the problem. Unlike your friend with the hood, we know where to find her.
Unlike most everyone else in my unit.
I'm sorry about your partner.
Well-oiled archery machine, but it didn't start out that way. And unlike you guys, we weren't tossed together overnight. We came together one at a time.
Maintain.
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 15 to 20 minutes. Maintain the room, maintain the room, maintain the room, wait for 2 rings, then exit.
To protect, to invent, to maintain order, to maintain order, to maintain order, to support.
You know what? Why don't I tag along today just to play buffer between you two? Maintain operational integrity.
I want food! I want your money!
Got another on top. Well, it says maintain camera footage.
Hold on a second. The landlord's supposed to maintain it.
How do you mean?
Just to maintain a certain level of passion, you know?
To be my protege. Now, it will be impossible for you to do that and maintain a relationship.
These parrots, I'm on the clock, bro. Gotta maintain the alibi, right? Right.
Extended. Why?
Maintain radio silence and current position until you receive further instructions.
My train heading! And...
Well, we might need more manpower to maintain the peace. Chaos, son. If we want to maintain the peace, we need to show everyone exactly how serious we are about law and order. What about the water temperature?
Should maintain its heat long enough for Jamil to get the power back on.
We maintain our professional arrangement as you suggested.
Evolutionary.
Evolutionary.
Evolutionary. Evolutionary. Evolutionary.
Working parts, right? Simple as I having one. So if we can fill in the gaps, the evolutionary gaps, the evolutionary gaps, the evolutionary gaps.
Why are men such babies when they get sick or injured?
It's an evolutionary thing. It's an evolutionary thing. It's an evolutionary thing. Men who can get women to take care of them.
No siblings, and both of her parents are gone. She lived in an off-campus house in Hudson University where she was working towards a PhD in evolutionary biology. In evolutionary biology. In evolutionary biology.
All right, send CSU to her apartment.
Human or animal that exists without a sexual dimension.
They have sexuality as an evolutionary reproductive need.
I'll be very clear here, because you and I face an evolutionary gap.
Major animal groups suddenly appear in the forms in which they currently hold, not slowly and steadily, as Darwin predicted, but in evolutionary terms, almost instantly.
Your oxygen machines.
Peter,
you
that's enough.
are a side effect to an evolutionary process that cares little for individual lives.
Were it not for the evolutionary quirk that the mature human brain cannot pass through a dilated cervix, we might be rid of the pair bond between parent and child entirely.
I don't understand why she would talk to you about something like that.
Well, Anne was studying evolutionary biology.
So those things?
Your accelerator explosion.
Evolutionary leaps follow the creation of new technology.